What up, party people? Birds of a feather, week 18. NFL playoffs right around the corner. Maybe. I already know. Prayers up for Demar Hamlin. We'll get into it. Birds of a feather, let's go.
Oh my God! I'm embarrassed! He's flying!
Welcome in. It's almost time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Birds of a Feather on A2D Radio, brought to you by Baggio's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pie, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and everywhere you download your podcasts. So if you're listening to us live right now, on your commute, or just anywhere in the car, on your way to Baggio's Bread to pick up some of that great stuffed bread, or what Pete likes to call stromboli. We really appreciate your support. It's your boy Chucks here again, hosting your favorite football show. To my left, Mr. OG Pete Evans. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, man. Happy New Year to all. To everyone out there, hopefully it was a good one, and enjoy. I know COVID's coming back. It hit my house. We're still fighting it, so just trying to stay safe, man.
Yeah, definitely. Below me, Mr. Young. How you doing, man? You holding up?
Better today than I was a few days ago.
Good. Glad to hear. And then we don't have Jake, but Mr. Money Pot on time once again. It's a new trend. I kind of like it. What's going on, Nate? How are you? Even though we can't see your lovely face. How are you doing?
2 days in a row, man. You know what I mean? Things change up. I went viral on Twitter. I went viral on the gram. So I'm making moves right now. So that's why you don't see me.
Making moves. I hear you.
It's a bunch of bullshit what I just said, but it sounded good.
We've got a packed show as usual. We're going to talk about the Eagles, how they're looking right now, and what our biggest concerns are as we head into the playoffs. We don't even know yet if they're going to be the 1 seed or the 5 seed. So we're going to talk about what our biggest concerns are for the team as they stand right now. Second quarter of the show, we are going to preview the upcoming matchup, the pivotal Week 18 matchup versus the New York Giants in Philly. Third quarter and the second half of the show, we'll go once again league-wide, and we will talk about the playoff picture. We got a few games that still have playoff implications, some huge ones, especially the one on Sunday night. Jeez. So that'll be fun to talk about. And then at the end of the show, of course, we will do no huddle and hit you with some random topics. But we wanted to kind of, I guess you can say, like, with an audible a little bit. Maybe not, because it's been the dominating topic all week, and rightfully so. We wanted to give real quick our thoughts to what happened on Monday night. The terrifying. I mean, that's the word I've been using all week. Terrifying. The terrifying injury to Bills back to Demar Hamlin. We were all watching it, obviously. The coverage has been endless on it, and I think we had really good and hopeful updates from the doctors today. Hamlin is now, I guess you can say, like, aware. He's been communicating with his family via writing. He's been, asking questions, and he's trending toward the right way. So that's wonderful news, and keep those prayers going. If you donated to his charity, his GoFundMe for the toys, keep doing that. Like, keep those coming in. I think it's, the last time I checked, it's reached over 7 mil. That's amazing. Prayers, thoughts out to him and his family. Keep them going, guys. Don't stop now. But because we haven't talked about it yet, wanted to get everyone's quick reaction and thoughts. If you have anything else to say, but I know for me, it was an amazingly scary and I said terrifying already, but it was just like I didn't know what to do. Like I was sitting on my couch watching the game, watching it happen, and like when they said CPR for 9 minutes, I like froze. I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was like, this is serious. Like insane, insane. And like you don't like your worst fear about what could happen to one of the players is happening before your eyes, and you're seeing the reactions of the teammates, and you're like, this is no joke. This is life and death possibly. So I I definitely was taken aback. I definitely held Grayson tighter. He was with me watching the game playing around, but like I definitely, gave him a hug because like you don't want to see that, and it makes you realize what's important, and it makes you not take for granted even more the people that you care about the most. Um, but it's very very real. It's very, I guess you can say, it's a sigh of relief that he's doing better. I know that's been what's on our minds the past few days. Very relieved that he's doing much better. So if anyone else wants to give their 2 cents or thoughts, um, speak now.
Anyway, real quick, it's just the reason why if people are saying like, well, if he's not out of the woods yet, it's right now pretty much everything is with his lungs trying to heal. The reason why he's communicating via writing is because he's still intubated. He still has a breathing tube in. So right at this point, it's really just trying to get his lungs strong enough. But he's still with us. You never thought you would see that in football. I think that's the biggest thing. People who watch soccer, we all remember Christian Eriksen in 2020 in the World Cup prelims. And listen, and to be honest, I know there were some fans and even Skip Bayless, who obviously retracted and he fell back a little bit, who said, why are we stopping the game? I mean, I will say in soccer, in that 2020 prelim, he went down, cardiac arrest. They continued to play the game. He ultimately ended up being in stable condition. He actually played in the World Cup a couple weeks ago. So hopefully tomorrow will get his life back. I mean, it's definitely something jarring and shocking. It's the perfect time. You have to hit that person at that amount of force at the perfect time within the rhythm of their heartbeat for that to happen on a field of play like that. And you never thought you would see it in football. We talked about Chris Pronger in 1998. We seen that he took the slap shot high on the chest. I don't know if it's ever happened in baseball, but you would equate something like that happening with sports that have projectiles, not someone's helmet. So and I think the reaction that you saw the players on the sideline on both sides and the coaches and the fans, like you never thought you would see a lot of things on a football field. You never thought you would see something like that where CPR is being administered to a player in the field of play. So shout out to Cincinnati, University of Cincinnati Health, Level Trauma 1 Center. And yeah, man, it's just that's scary, but it definitely put things in perspective for you, for sure.
Yeah, I think the only thing I can add, because I don't want to sound redundant, I don't want to sound repetitive. Everybody sees the stories, everybody sees the breaking news from all your outlets. I think prayer out of this, prayers work, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like prayers work. I don't know if you're religious, spiritual, whatever it is, but just taking a second, closing your eyes or whatever, and just saying something nice for this young man to hopefully regain consciousness, be able to breathe on it by himself. Like, it's amazing when a group of people of all that energy goes to one person, what that does. So I think for me, at least, that when we stop, it sucks that it has to be something dramatic that happens when we stop. But at the point when we all stop and collectively look at something together and force our energy to that way, it's amazing what that does. So for me, I would just say keep those prayers coming. Like Pete said, he's not out of the woodworks yet, but just keep those prayers coming. If you already said yours and you had your piece, that's cool. But I think that's an amazing thing. It sucks, like I said again, when traumatic things happen, we seem to all kind of figure out how to come together instead of other circumstances. But I think that's an amazing thing that you just saw there, where everything stopped for a second and we focused all on one thing, and we got a positive outcome that that everybody was looking for.
Yes.
Did you want to add anything?
Nah, man. And I really don't want to get to. Oh, I'm sorry, PY. Real quick, I don't want to get too preachy on here because I could, but prayer changes things, man. I'm a firm believer in prayer changes things. Whether or not you believe, you don't believe. If you believe in the positive vibes that you put out there for someone, but like Nate said, I had the thought when we were talking, you said his foundation's over 7 million. It shouldn't take something like this to happen for him to reach his goal. His goal was 2,500. He wasn't even there yet. We got to stop coming together in times like this. It's all well and good. Because we see we have it in us as a people. You see what I'm saying? It shouldn't take something like this for us to come together. It shouldn't take something like 9/11 for everybody else to come together. Obviously, this is not on that level, but like Nate said, it's something traumatic, something shocking that's on the scale. Like Pete said, his boss, who doesn't watch football, knew what was going on. I'm at the gym the other night on the treadmill. Every TV, all 8 of them had something going on. It is what it is. It's getting the coverage it deserves. But at the same time, let's keep this energy rolling.
Yep. Absolutely. And Povia does make a really great point here. Shout out to trainer Denny Kellington for administering life-saving CPR. Yeah, shout out to him and all the first responders, everyone that gave this man a chance. It's made all the difference. So anyone that treated him, all the health professionals, tip of a cap to you guys. Like you guys all made a huge difference. So props, respect, and much love and appreciation. Obviously, not just from us, but his family and from him himself. Now, as we shift a little bit, right before the show came on, about half an hour ago, I'd say around 9 o'clock, the NFL officially announced they are canceling the Bills-Bengals game, and they will be talking tomorrow about the implications of what decisions they'll move forward with in terms of positioning. Maybe doing a a neutral site for certain scenarios. So if you want to see that, it was released on all social media for NFL's accounts. So if you want to read into that, you can. But real quick, if you guys want to touch on that, I think it's obviously the best decision. They talked about the reasons, the 3 reasons pretty much why they went with the decision of canceling it, because it wouldn't affect Buffalo or Cincinnati's postseason qualifiers. Like they're already in the postseason regardless. Also because if they would play the game, then they would have to postpone the playoffs for a week, and they don't want to do that. And the last is because they wanted to stay consistent with competitive principles and enable all clubs to know playoff possibilities prior to the final weekend of the regular season game. So those are the 3 main reasons why they canceled the game, and we'll find out tomorrow what they decide to do as a result. But anyone want to pitch in what the thoughts are? I'll try to get it on the screen for everyone. But yeah, any thoughts, feedback? What do you guys think? What do you guys think they should do tomorrow? We've thrown out ideas, not us, but like they've thrown out ideas on social media of what they're considering. So, any thoughts to what's going to happen with this?
PY,
you guys see the Schefter tweet?
What did they say?
They just declare. He says the Bengals are declared their division champions.
Yeah, I thought they had clinched before that. I thought that no one can catch them, but I mean, based on that scenario, now what do the Bengals have to play for at this point? Because the Ravens, are they still alive? Are the Ravens alive for the 7th seed? I'm not sure what their scenario
I
would
don't
be.
know. Yeah, I don't know.
But I don't know. In a perfect world, Pete, how would you handle this situation? What would you have done?
I wouldn't have played the game. Like too much had happened during the game. Like too many thoughts and feelings were going on. You know, you had to stop it. Fuck Skip Bayless. Fudge. I said fudge. Sorry, I'm working on it.
All good. No, you're fine.
No, screw that guy. God bless Shannon Sharp's ability to look that guy in the face and not punch him.
Oh God, yeah.
I have more respect for Unk every day of my life. I would probably have spread it out a little bit. Like I would have probably pushed the playoffs back a week. So everyone can recover like mentally, and also just so clubs have a chance to just so teams have a chance to play as opposed to just take an L. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So you would have preferred them to take a week off.
Yeah, I just think from like a mental standpoint, nobody is like when it comes to Sunday. I don't think anyone's mentally going to be 100% because they're just going to be thinking about tomorrow all game.
Yeah.
Got it. No, I understood.
I agree. I mean, I agree with a lot of people I said. I actually think pushing it back a week anyway, just to give everybody some type of reprieve mentally, even if you weren't involved in that game as a player. I forget who plays Saturday, but like to be that next play, to have that in your mind, you're doing the same exact thing, like how just the mental psyche of that. But I mean, I'm pretty sure teams have been working with people and they have people to talk about that stuff to get that out there in the open. But I mean, I saw some people saying like cancel the whole season. Like, whoa, wait a minute now. Like,
yeah, let's calm down there.
You know what I mean? Like I get it, but let's calm it down, especially now with the updates and showing signs of improvement. Everybody with the pro-life and how he's like, if he keeps trending upward, then I mean, yes, it's a traumatic thing you saw. It's just, but you have to somehow get back to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At some point. So I don't know. It's crazy that you had that. This is like touted as the best Monday night football game in a while. You've never had teams with this many wins play each other on Monday night football this late into the season, and with potential number one seeds on hold, like not on hold, but on the line at stake, I should say. And this was like for the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th seed, probably be a little bit different. But I mean, it's definitely giving the Chiefs an advantage. You know what I mean? Like there's undoubtedly is getting, but at the same time, you talking about the AFC Championship game being at a neutral site. Oh, well, if that was us, if this was the NFC, the Eagles get the 1 seed, they get a divisional home playoff game, and they still get to keep the bye. At that point, okay, guess what? Now you NFC Championship game, you got to play on the road at a neutral site like Indy or something like that, indoors or in Detroit or something like that. Okay, that's fine. Listen, our fan base travels. You know what I mean? Like a fan base will travel, they will follow. So we have to see how it plays out.
Yeah. Nate, thoughts? Is he even there?
I think they got it right. Actually, I think they got it right the way they're doing it. It's almost like a tie, kind of. I'm in the standings, so I think the best case scenario is that if Cincy or Buffalo gets to the AFC Championship game, that's a neutral field game. And just leave it at that.
Yeah.
The problem with them pushing it back a week, you give everybody else a week to get healthy, and Cincy or Buffalo could take a hit by injury that same week. So that's really not fair to them. And obviously the traumatic event happened to them. So everything that needs to be done needs to be in favor of Buffalo, for the scenario of Buffalo and Cincy. So for me, I think they kind of got it right. They did what obviously they could do is really just kind of keep moving on, make the games kind of keep going on and playing. Like I said, just look at this as a tie, in the terms of the seeding scenario. And then if one of those teams get to the AFC Championship, then that game's played at a neutral field. And I'm pretty sure the other team that they play will understand this. Like, this is something unprecedented. This is something that's obviously hugely traumatic, hit the community in all kinds of phases. I mean, the president called, the family as well. So, I mean, it's a national thing, right? So it's not just internal to NFL; it became national. So, I think that's the best case scenario, and I think that is the right thing to do. You know, unfortunately, you would want a home game. You can cry over spilled milk, but you know what I mean? You'll get over it.
Yep.
It's a game.
Yep. No, I agree. I think that the whole neutral side, I think the scenarios that Shefty is talking about, what they're leaning toward, I think that's it makes sense, and I think that's the most fair. I think they're obviously going to have a lot of scenarios covered. So we'll see what they officially go with tomorrow and what the announcement is on how they're going to approach it. But I do agree, cancel the game, just keep everything else scheduled as is. I think just roll it, keep it going, play these Week 18 games as scheduled, and then you'll figure out contingencies. So I think they're getting it right from this angle and from this perspective. So other than that, anyone else got anything to add before we finally dive into the poll question?
No, sir.
Alrighty. So good.
No, sir.
Good conversations there, guys. So let's get into our poll question to start off the show. And our first quarter of the show, it's brought to you by eXp Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, or if you're looking for a change in career or brokerage, contact Alan Foy of eXp Realty LLC at 302-682-8820 or visit him at alan.foy@exprealty.com. Our poll question: the Eagles' offensive play calling is a bigger concern for the playoffs than the defensive play calling. Agree or disagree? I know we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier in the week, but we've had a few days to brew on it. So let's talk about it. Nate, what do you think? Like, this is pretty much saying who's more of a concern? Is Gannon more of a concern, or is Steichen more of a concern right now as we head into the playoffs? What do you think?
Such a tough question to me because what hurts at QB, I don't feel like there's a concern. Like, you know what I mean? The team runs through Hurts. We've seen that. And I felt like what they did with Minshew is that they took the same offense that they would run with Hurts, and then they just threw Minshew in and think that Minshew could run the same offense. And obviously that didn't work twice. So offensive play calling a bigger concern. I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
I'm going to disagree that the offensive play calling is a bigger concern for the playoffs because I believe with Jalen back at quarterback, now it might take him a game, right, to kind of get back into the swing of thing, but our offense was, top 5 statistically in the league? We're, top 3 in scoring? Everything across the board, told us that Jalen Hurts was an MVP. So, to me, I'm going to disagree to the poll. I don't think the offensive side is the concern. I think when the game gets tight, Gannon gets a little bit tight butt cheeks. So, but, I mean, we were 13-1 before everything kind of went to shit a little bit there. So, I'm going to disagree to the poll.
Mr. Young, what do you think?
Yeah, you gotta disagree. Like, Gannon's been up and down all season in terms of the way he's calling games. Obviously, his everything with him is improved. Like, he's gotten everything you could possibly have. The pass rush is great. The secondary is great. Obviously, you're going to get some guys back recently, so maybe you can have some complaints with that he hasn't had guys at safety, which is fine. But this offense has been consistent every week. Like, when Jalen Hurts is quarterback, they are 13-1 because of what he has given you and what the offense has given you for the most part. These last 2 weeks, there's one determining factor. It's the same guys defensively for the most part. and a backup quarterback leading your offense. Like that is the one major thing that's been stopping you these last few weeks. It's because you don't have your MVP. Like where this team will go is where Jalen Hurts will take them, not Gardner Minshew. I'm far more worried about how Gannon schemes things in the playoffs than I am about a return to a Jalen Hurts run offense.
What do you think, Pete? I feel like me and you are the only ones going to agree here. So go ahead.
I definitely agree to the poll. The reason being is that if you go, so forget the last 2 weeks, go back to the reason why we lost the Commanders game. You go back to the reason why we lost the Christmas Eve game. The Christmas Eve and the Commanders game wasn't about the defense, and more or less, we just gave the ball back too many times. So 2 of the 3 losses that you had is because you had 8 turnovers. So that's not the defense's fault. I mean, and the defense you're putting on the field with a short field, and in Dallas they gave up 24 points on short fields and 4 turnovers. The Commanders game, why did we not get a rhythm on offense again? We were 3-0, and if I'm not mistaken, was Jalen Hurts not the quarterback at that time? They weren't running the ball.
They weren't handing it off to Miles.
You see what I'm saying? So I get it. See, here's the thing. It's so cliche, and Gannon has a hate to face, right? The thing is, I also say this about the defense. The defense is working with the less talent versus the offense. At the offense, you look at that, all 5 of your starting offensive linemen could have been the starting linemen in the Pro Bowl. Your wide receivers could have been starting wide receivers in the Pro Bowl. Your running back probably will be the starting running back in the Pro Bowl. Same for your quarterback, who was at the time an MVP candidate. We all know our front 4, our front 6 rotation, we got 69 sacks. This is the thing, people. Jonathan Gannon, not only, but he doesn't get all the credit because he's a DC, but they are now on pace. If they get 4 sacks Sunday, they have the most sacks of any team in the history of the league. Not just since then, not just since this year, not since this team, because they are the record setters for the amount of sacks for the league since the 1985 Bears. The 85 Bears had 72, right? Here's my thing. Gannon has to hide a lot of bullshit because it's not because of the front line. It's not because of the back end. Bitch, that damn linebacker core, I don't know what the hell Kaiser White been doing the last 3 weeks.
It's Kaiser, and it's the safeties.
You see what I'm saying? And even TJ has kind of taken a step back. And the injuries in more key positions, yeah, now you got Lane Johnson out. But bitch, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson ain't saddled up for what? 7-8 weeks. Avonte Maddox went down for 3 to 4 weeks and now came back and went down again. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm talking about in the playoffs, to me, honestly, we sit here and we say the offense has been more consistent. This is my biggest thing. I will agree wholeheartedly. We see Minshew ain't him. Hurts is him. But how much has Hurts been hiding and covering for what Sirianni and Steichen's lack of abilities have been? Gannon hasn't been working with a full deck all season, right? So if it wasn't for this resurgence of our D-line, who knows where our defense would be at? Honestly, and now we saw in the Saints game, that first drive, it looks bad. It doesn't look flashy. They're running the ball down your throat. Yeah, it gets you mad, right? They still gave up only 13 points. The pick 6 was right there. You saw a lot of those sacks. The coverage on the back end married the defensive line. So they're starting to get in sync. You see what I'm saying? And I've always said this. Substituting players when you get injuries in game for players who are taking second team reps, third team reps, and now it's game time and the first team rep player gets hurt, that takes a while. You see Josiah Scott bounce back. He had an interception this past Sunday, right? Didn't make those mental mistakes. And then obviously they said, we sit here and say run the ball on offense, right? Everybody knows Jalen Hurts in the game, so they're going to put more in the box. It's going to be harder for you to run the ball. Still fucking work. You see what I'm saying? But in the playoffs, when I look at the teams that we're going to go up against, I think from a defensive end, we stack up better. I still think from an offensive end, we stack up better. But I've seen the defense somehow, I gotta say this, they do stupid shit, but they adjust. You see what I'm saying? It almost seems like Gannon is adjusting quicker than what Sirianni, or maybe I can't really say Sirianni, but what Steichen is seeing. Because remember last year, Sirianni called the plays. From what Steichen is doing, he's not adjusting as fast as what we're seeing from Gannon. I just think, once again, I think Gannon is hate to face, man. That's honestly in my opinion.
I think so too. I think people already have their mind set up on Gannon, so they're gonna go with Gannon.
Yeah, it's like you be careful what you wish for, man.
Yeah, and
I'm not sitting here saying he's the next coming of Wink Martindale or who was the dude in Baltimore for all those years in Pittsburgh, Dick LeBeau. He's not that. It's just you gotta 13 points.
He's not as bad as a lot of the fan base.
No, he's not. And
he's not great, but he's not bad. Like I
no.
really don't think
and honestly, if you take the two sides of the ball, who's the more talented side of the ball?
Offense. Offense is stacked. So
he's better than Billy Davis. That's what we're hanging our hats on here.
What do you mean by that, Pete? What do you mean? Hold on, Chuck. What do you mean by that?
So he's a better defensive coordinator than Billy Davis, so we should hang our hats on him.
Dude, I sat here and said in the preseason that they would be a top 5 defense. Y'all all
look at me adding. Like, of course, how could you not when you're adding guys White?
Take him off screen.
All these other guys.
I said Marcus Epps will be a breakout player. Without Marcus Epps on the back end, you're not even in this position to be where you at as a defense.
Yes.
So what do you want, Pete? What do you want? Do you want a defense that only out of 16 games you gave up 30 points 4 times, and you've only lost 2 of those games? So you 2-2 when you get the defense give up 30. What else do you want?
I just
don't look there. Don't look there with the dump face. What do you want?
But he adjusts. Okay, let me go before we get into this because I think it's. Let me get to the comments. Let me put my 2 cents in, and then we'll have at it. Man. But a lot of the chat disagrees with the poll. You got Bryce says disagree because when Hurts comes back, we're good on offense.
We're not talking about that. I'm not. So
Vlad,
go ahead. We're not talking about the player. I'm talking about the play calling. Focus on the question.
We're talking about the play calling. Vlad says disagree. They'll just let Hurts run himself into another injury. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Let's see. I'm gonna say Nakem says Nakeem, even when the defense getting a lot of sacks, they'll give a lot of points. How many times have we give up 30 plus this year?
4.
3 times? 4 times out of all the games. I mean, I don't know about that. Vlad also says defense has a lot of issues. Soft zones are getting torn up. Nakeem says secondary won't hold up. SJM says, what's up, fam? I disagree with the poll. Yes, there is cause for concern. However, defense will right itself with CJGJ or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Maddox returning in the next few weeks. So why do you disagree to the poll if they're coming back?
He comes back and he meant to say he agrees.
Oh, okay. He does later on. Okay, all right, cool. Because here's the second comment. Offense is more of an issue than the defense. Defense looked less than solid in the first 2 quarters, but made adjustments. Offense been play calling and execution has been piss poor. Treckler says disagree. Jalen takes a lot of those bad play calls on offense. Defense has a lot of pieces missing. SJM says Eagles absolutely miss Jalen's legs on 3rd downs and in the red zone. RPO offense scheme doesn't work when the defense doesn't respect the QB's legs. Look, last week they didn't even account for Gardner Minshew. He also says I've banged on Gannon off and on the last 2 years. I admit he is underrated. Our fan base needs to leave the ghost of Jim Johnson heavy blitz in the past. And I mean, that's absolutely true. I agree to the poll. Okay. When it comes to, we're not looking at rosters. We're not looking at the players. We're looking at the play calling. I agree to the poll. I think the offense is more of a concern. Now, am I panicking? I'm not panicking on either side of the ball. I'll just say that. But if I'm going to pick one to be more of a concern, I'm going to go with offensive play calling. One, I know you want to use the excuse, or people want to use the reasoning of, Jalen Hurts is coming back. He's going to fix a lot of stuff. We're getting people back on defense too. All right, we're getting Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back, which is going to make a big difference. I mean, how many picks did he have on the back end? How many times you see him make plays on the back end before he got hurt? We're going to get Josh Sweat back again, and Maddox's injury designation is day to day. If it's day to day, there's definitely a possibility he's there for the playoffs, and if we get him back, huge. So we're getting people back on defense as well. It's not just Hurts coming back on offense. I do understand people's concerns about the defensive play calling, about the soft zones and everything, but I feel like we're beating a broken drum on this show. we've said, like, these people think that the zone coverages, the soft zones, are always the wrong answer, and that it's always about man coverage, playing press. It's not as black and white as that, guys. You like, I had someone on Twitter reply to one of my things saying like, oh, no, press man coverage is always going to aggressive man coverage is always going to beat soft zone coverage. That's just not true. What did the pick six that Gardner Minshew threw? What coverage was he playing? The corner playing? Someone tell me what coverage was he playing on the interception?
That was press.
No, he backed off.
Are you talking about Lattimore?
Yeah, Lattimore's pick six.
I'm sorry.
I think it was in zone.
He changed to soft coverage, and he read the play and made the pick six. So it's not just about playing press man. People like this fan base is obsessed with playing press man, playing aggressive, blitzing all the time. That's not always the issue, okay? Or that's not always the answer to everything. It's different with each thing. It's not, you can't make these blanket statements, okay? With a lot of what Pete said, it's spot on. Like, you also look back to why are we here in the first place? Because against the Bears, Steichen ran the ball with Hurts way too much, and then he got hurt. That's why we're in this position in the first place. I don't know if going into the playoffs, and maybe it's something beyond just Steichen, because we've had this since we've had Andy Reid. We just, for some reason, we don't trust the running backs to run the ball, no matter who we have. Like, we don't run the ball enough. We get pass happy. The Eagles since 2000 are just a pass happy team, and it's maddening because when we need to run the ball, we don't. The only time I think I can say we did was the 2017 season, maybe. But even then, like, we had games where we passed the ball too much. Like, if I'm going to have a bigger concern, I'm going to be concerned about, hey, even if Jalen's in there, you got to give it to the running backs. You can't cause these so many design runs for Jalen Hurts when he's back in there. And then also, why are you calling them when he's not in there? When Gardner Minshew's in there, they had 2 plays in the second half that were third and short. And they called really dumb play calls on both of them. And one of them was a zone read. You're really going to have Gardner Minshew hold the ball on a zone read when he's one-on-one with Cam Jordan. Really? You think that's a smart play call? Like, come on. Give it to Miles Sanders. Give it to one of your other running backs.
Nick Foles ran RPO.
Nick Foles is 6'6".
He didn't run zone read.
Yeah, right.
So,
and he played basketball. 6'6". Have you seen that man? Have you seen that man shoot a jump shot and dunk?
Have you seen that man run? He is slow as ass.
I'm not talking about slow. I'm just talking about this quick twitch. I feel like Foles has more.
You said twitch. Nick Foles has got quick twitch
in 2013. He did. He had zip.
So
I can't say the same.
And I want to say, in the first half, on a lot of those third downs that we were giving up, those corners were playing press, by the way.
Yeah.
And there was a lot in second half, there were a lot of zone match. So every time you want to say play press, go look at the third down plays in the first half. A lot of them were on press coverage. They got beat. So it's not always a blanket. It's not a blanket statement or a blanket answer you can use to cover everything. Now, when it comes to Gannon, like, again, he gets so much hate. And I want to make my overall stance clear on Gannon. I don't love the guy, okay? There are things that he does that I don't like. I would like him to be a little bit more aggressive here. I would like him to play more man in certain situations. I would like him to use Slade as a shadow corner when you're facing an elite wide receiver on the other side, like you did against the Vikings. There are things that I want him to do differently. I don't love him. I don't think he's a great defensive coordinator. But considering 90% of the Eagles fan base acts like he's the worst defensive coordinator that's come and hit the city, like, I'm automatically having to defend him because the hate goes too far. And it's gone too far since last year. And it's gone too far all year, even though we have a great defense. So I'm with OG Pete. I'm with Pete here. When it comes to play calling specifically, I'm more concerned about the offensive play calling. I'm not in panic mode. but there is more of a concern about what Steichen's going to call coming the playoffs, even with Jalen Hurts, than I am about Gannon, because everyone that wants to say that Gannon hasn't adjusted or doesn't adjust, you got to eat your words, because that second half he adjusted, but Steichen did it. So don't give me that, because that's totally incorrect. And that's not the only game either. There are several games where the second half Gannon has adjusted and changed his game plan. So have it at that.
Yeah, no, not. And just to expound on that point, CD wasn't doing jack shit until Maddox went out the game. All right, so injuries matter. Just like when Lane went out that last drive, he got ate up. Parsons caused a Miles fumble. I'll also say this. I think Trexler historical art, and he had a couple comments, but he says, imagine what our defense would be if we had an aggressive D quarter. Like, my God. They lead the fucking league in sacks. when you can get full and you have almost 70 plus sacks, that is a luxury to do whatever you want on the back end. You see what I'm saying? Teams in the NFL average at least 14 to 17 points. Now, you take the pick six away, you gave up 13. I get it. We looking at the game in a vacuum. You feel what I'm saying? But at the same time, the offense, if you look at what side of the ball has been trending downward, even when Jalen was in, look at the Bears game. They played sloppy. They got away with it. I think they lost a turnover battle in the Bears game, right? Where do the flags come from on this team, the offense or the defense?
Offense.
You had, and this is what I'm a truly believer in this. I think our offense and our team last Saturday, New Year's Eve, probably overlooked the Saints a little bit and got a little banged up. You was on a silent count at home.
Yeah, why? I don't understand.
At home, you went to a silent count. So when it comes to offensive play calling, it's not just the play calling that concerns you with the offense. It's also the execution as well. And the pre-snap. Nothing kills me more than pre-snap penalties. Very rarely do we seen. Now, I may have to keep my words on this. Very rarely have you seen on the defensive side of the ball pre-snap penalties or just penalties in general. Yeah. Last year, I remember like every fifth or sixth play on defense, we was getting illegal hands to the face. Some stupid shit like that. But it's just, I don't want to make it seem like I'm an apologist. It's just, once again, everybody I see hurts that. He covers up a lot. He's raised his level of play where he can make up for the mistakes. Obviously, on that pick six that Minshew threw, because Minshew did leave a lot of plays on the field. Maybe not so much Christmas Eve, but New Year's Day, he left a lot of plays out on the field. He probably would look back to AJ and said, listen, he's selling they had some signal, whatever. They can read each other. It's going to happen. Yep. The 4-for-1, the QB sneak, I'm not doing that with Minshew.
Yeah.
Why are we doing that?
Yeah, I know.
I just don't understand. So I've seen the trend the last 2, 3, 4 weeks where the offense scares me more than the defense, because I think the defense is going to come to play. I want to see Nakobe Dean on the field. I don't know if you're going to do it at this point, this late in the season, to give a rookie to have a rookie coming out party. Now, maybe we may see it this Sunday, but it's just.
If you're calling for Nakobe Dean, you're panicking.
Well, I'm not. Kyzier's getting his ass whooped the last 3 weeks.
Kyzier's being exposed. I'm not panicking.
Okay, so players have bad stretches, right? It's 16, 17 games.
It's been over a month.
Okay. What about the other games? What about the other 4 months that he played? He was also out for
like 6 weeks, wasn't he? Kyzier missed like 5 or 6 games, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember Kyzier's being hurt at all.
I don't think it was that many.
Maybe. But I remember in our chat when we looked at when the Dallas game was going on that first round, I said, listen, our linebackers about to be tested because the running backs was out in the flat heavy, and the Saints. Now I will say this once again: the Saints, the first half, he was killing us in the flat. Dalton was killing us in the flat, and then second half he adjusted. Everything went away. You know what I mean? So you will want Gannon to start the game off like that, but obviously they prepared during the week. They come in with a game plan, and then they see what's going on the other side, and they make adjustments. Like you said, shout out to Tom. Tom says you can play press when you have great corners. Listen, like you said, Chuck,
that's not how it works, though.
But you also said that first half they was playing press.
They were playing press.
I will say this as well. Bradbury, 2 weeks in a row, my man's getting burnt. I don't need Bradbury from the Giants last year. I need Bradbury that was early in the season.
Yo, y'all
I'm not
sound
worried
like
about
y'all are panicking. Like you talked about me last week about the Saints.
I'm not worried about Bradbury. How am I panicking? I just said I'm not worried about Bradbury.
I just said he's getting burnt. That's all I'm saying.
It happens, bro.
Like, yeah, I'm not.
So hold on, Nate. So me saying he getting burnt is me panicking? One comment.
I don't think it's panicking. I don't think it's panicking.
You're talking about Bradbury. You're talking about White. You're talking about the play calling. You're naming every single thing that you can possibly name. You're talking about playing N'Kobe Dean, a rookie who
I've been saying that from the rip.
A lot of people.
But I've been saying that from the rip. I don't know where you've been at. I've been saying that from the rip from N'Kobe Dean.
New. That's really
not nothing new.
Yeah, that's nothing new.
There's a reason why he's on the bench, dog. There's a reason why he's on the bench.
Because you got a top 5 defense. It's a luxury not to need him. But like my man 40 Bulu said,
and because
Kaiser hasn't missed any time to our knowledge, and he could also say he's been bad in coverage. That's all I'm saying.
And because Kaiser was playing well at the beginning of the year, but now he's not. So I mean, it's
right.
So you yank him, you pull him.
I'm not saying yank him. I'm saying you gotta see what Dean got.
Now you're going to see what Dean's got going right in the playoffs.
Same shit, right? In the division round, I'm saying Kaiser get beat by a tight end. And then everybody gonna look at me like, damn, Pete, you was right.
Definitely do it.
Yeah, well, who was that tight end? Kelsey? Like who are we talking about? You know what I mean?
If we see Kelsey being in the Super Bowl, bitch, all bets is off at that point. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, man. Like players have bad stretches. We can't expect them to play great.
Our stretches are coming at the wrong time. That's all I'm saying. If you look at this team now, to every team we played against 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, outside of the Titans, everybody's playing better. The Packers are playing better. The Giants are playing better. I'm glad. I'm thankful that the Giants clinched last week because I feel some type of way the Giants had to come in here and actually win a game to get in because of what we've been showing on tape the past 2. I even say the past 3 weeks. Excuse my language time. I'm sorry. 3 weeks. The Bears game was sloppy. Jalen saved that game for us. You know what I mean?
The Bears play everybody tough.
Right, but they didn't play the Lions tough last week. You seen that game?
Yeah, that's because what's his face got hurt.
I'm just saying. You said they play everybody tough.
I mean, you picking one game out of what? Like the Bears been playing a lot of people tough. You know what I mean? Like it's funny because I was saying how the Saints were going to win last week, and everybody was like, "Oh," and now I'm not. We're in a bad spot because we're playing bad football and we're injured all at the wrong time. But I don't think that means that you start pulling starters who have played 80 to 85% of the time well, just because the last 10, 15% they haven't.
We're talking about one guy though. We're like I'm literally just talking about one.
But I mean, I'm saying, why won't you pull Bradbury? Why won't you pull Bradbury though? You know what I mean? Just because he's been getting torched.
Who's playing? Zach McPherson?
No. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is what I've seen out of Bradbury, I've seen him get beat on similar routes at the same type of footwork. That's the trend. So he has to get in the lab and try to fix it. That's all I'm saying. And with Kazir White, let me expound on my comment. I'm talking about in coverage passing downs. Yes, I feel like we may need to take a look at Dean because I think Dean will be ultimately somewhat better in coverage than Kazir White. That's a rookie. You can do whatever you want. You can say just because Kazir White been in the league longer than Dean. I see Middlebrook. Thank you for chiming in, Bill. I didn't know you knew we existed on Thursdays, but I'm just saying, just seeing what this kid got. That's all. That's all I'm saying because
you do that in the beginning of the year. You don't do it when you don't do it in the playoffs. You don't do it now. You don't start to experiment and figure out. Oh, can this kid play?
Did you not just see what Pro Fan Talk shout out to Marcus? His poll question was this tonight. His poll question, he was saying moving my lot to the right tackle, moving the Dillard to the left tackle. Now that's an experiment and a half.
Yeah, didn't some of you guys and I think some of the other shows they were saying Dillard has to play at right tackle over Driscoll.
Man, I don't care about them other shows. They ain't birds of a feather.
No, I'm saying, but what I'm saying
is, who cares about what them other shows say?
What I'm saying is everyone wants to put out, okay, let's experiment with this. Okay,
Right.
then why is it out of bounds to say if Kaiser continues to struggle, consider what Nakobe Dean can do. Now I will add, that's if he's been getting reps at practice. If he hasn't, then throw it out the window. You're not gonna put him in there in a spot that he hasn't been getting reps at. But no one knows besides the team if he has or hasn't. From my knowledge, he's only been getting reps at Mike. So if he's not getting
the only way
Will,
Dean plays if there's an injury. You don't put him in at this point. Just to see.
If we see Dean get beat on crosses by tight end 5 times in a row, how do they stop that?
You go to a different Dean?
No, I'm talking about White. I'm talking about Kaiser. Because Kaiser and everything else, cool with. I'm cool with. I'm talking about in coverage. He is really all of our linebackers in coverage are a liability. And this is the thing. Once you get to the playoffs, the game planning goes up to a different level. And that's where I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake to try to put a rookie in there in a high pressure situation who hasn't played all year outside of special teams, and when somebody gets hurt. We've seen him do well in oh shit.
Oh.
Wow.
All right.
Damn.
Well, while we wait to get him back, there were a few things I wanted to address. There were comments here. So Vlad's comment. He says, it seems like man more often would work better with one of the best front four I've seen. That's just incorrect. Like, we have a league leading and almost a NFL history making team sacks, was that 64 or something like that, right?
It helps with the back end coverage.
Okay. How much of that is helped by the coverage? There are definitely a good number of coverage sacks in there. So it's not all, I'm not discrediting the D-line. The D-line is eating, and they're absolutely winning. Probably, I'd say most of the time they're winning them by themselves. But a portion of that is because our coverage sacks, because the zone coverage on the back end, the man coverage on the back end, the zone match coverage on the back end is good. Therefore, it's giving more time to the D line to get there. They work in tandem. It's not just the D line always doing the work. There are some reps where you have to have coverage sacks. You need more time, and the back end for the Eagles has been doing a good job. And then there was another comment. I'm trying to find it, but like Tom's comment, you play press man when you have great corners. That's not true. Like, how many great corners are there in the league that play zone primarily? Like, it's not just about man. It's not just because you have great corners doesn't mean you always play man.
Man, tell Tom I said he don't know what the hell he's talking about. Tom don't know nothing.
I found the other thing I wanted to get to. 40 Boy Lou said, how do y'all feel about getting his joke about Reddick? He was asked about the 16 sacks, and he said he'd probably have 20 if I didn't drop him back so much. I took it as a slap in the face. I took it as hilarious. I thought it was funny. I thought it was so funny that he made that joke and everything. And I'll repeat this because I said this at the beginning of the year when all the uproar about Reddick getting dropped back in the coverage and all that. People were saying, why are you doing it? Why are you doing that? The Eagles play 5-man front, right? They play that a lot. 5-man front with the nose tackle. We see Jordan Davis in there. We see Linval Joseph in there. We see Sue on occasion, but it's more so Linval Joseph and Davis, right? They're the nose tackle. So you're playing 5-man surfaces. You got the nose tackle, the 3 techs, and then you've got the outside. They usually play the 5 or 7 tech, if I'm not mistaken. And those people on the outside, the defensive ends, those are Reddick and sometimes Sweat, I think, or Graham. So you have defensive ends on the outside. Those are your 5-man fronts. When you are playing that, you're still rushing 4. So if you have a 5-man front and you're rushing 4, simple math, what does that leave? 5 minus 4 leaves what? 1, right? So one guy has to drop back into coverage when you're playing 5-man fronts. If you are playing 5-man fronts with Reddick and someone on the other side, but if the fans have it their way, they're going to say, oh, always rush Reddick, always rush Reddick. Don't you think the offense, the opposing team is going to pick up on that? 5-man fronts, they're going to say, okay, Reddick's on this side, He's rushing. The other guy's dropping in the coverage. We know what they're going to do. Does that sound like smart defense to you? No. When you play 5-man surfaces, there are going to be some reps where Reddick has to drop in the coverage. That's not even an Eagles thing. That's not even a Gannon thing. That's a across the league thing. All the teams all the defensive coordinators and systems that play 5-man surfaces and play stuff like this, they drop their DNs into coverage sometimes. Vita Vea came up with, I think, a forced fumble or pass breakup earlier in the year. It was one of the best plays like you've seen from a defensive lineman. He was dropped in the coverage. No, if that had happened here in this fan base, Eagles fans would have went off and would have complained left and right, even though Vea made a great play. It happened. They do that. That's
a zone pressure though. Like that's more likely a zone pressure when that happened for a nose tackle to drop. You know what I mean? Like that's a zone blitz.
When you're in 5-man front, not all the time though, because the 5-man front, you have the 2 on the outside. You can't always bring all 5 all the time.
Yeah, but I don't see a defense where there's a 5-man front and the nose tackle drops without a zone pressure. It's got to be a zone blitz. That can't be man. That can't be man on the back end where is he in space? In the middle?
I believe on that play he was in the middle. So it was a zone pressure. Yeah, that's fine. Like if you're talking about the Vea play, it could have been a zone pressure, but regardless, it's a play where the defensive lineman still drops. Is my point. Like it happens. It happens. Like
what I'm saying is in like some 5-man pressures, that outside linebacker has like the flat and he fades.
Yeah.
Right. His responsibility. And the only reason why I say that because I played the position. Yeah. So typically he'll be his only responsibility is in the flat. And if there's nothing in the flat, he has an option to either rush or just kind of drift back to any kind of crossing, maybe a shorter route where he can kind of pick up. And that's a normal 5 front. And then you can play you can play man on the back. So I mean it's kind of what the front is called. So but yes, he's your best pass rusher, but out of the defensive line, he's probably your best coverage guy too.
Yeah, he is. So like if he's dropping back once or twice a game because you're playing so many 5-man fronts, I don't think that's egregious. I don't it's not like you're playing him at corner, again match up against a wide receiver. Like he's like you just said, he's drifting to the flat if he sees a certain look, he has the option to pass rush, or he's drifting. But he's not going against a corner on the boundary.
I think this fan base needs to look at how Dallas looks like Micah Parsons. Reddick is our Micah Parsons. He is our jacker. He is our switchblade. Like he can't obviously play a linebacker like that. But like Nate just said, out of everybody in defensive line, if it calls for somebody to drop in coverage who can actually make something out of it, it's probably Reddick.
And we've seen that too, Pete. Right? Like we've seen him make kind of disruption in the pass defense too. Like it's not like he's just getting in coverage and doesn't do anything. Like we've seen him actually like make plays while in coverage, whether it be giving a guy for a short tackle or even making a pass breakup. You know what I mean? Or affecting the pass in general. So like it's not like he's just some bum.
And the other thing is like like all the hate that he gets for putting him in coverage, like there hasn't been a single play where he dropped him in coverage that like has been a big play or it's cost us a game. Like Bill, I love you, man. I know you up there in Massachusetts. He says agree, Chucks, but Reddick is here. After the QB, not the cover receivers. Like he has 16 sacks. He's 1.5 sacks away from leading the whole league. What else do you want? Like what's the last D-line player that you paid big money to in a free agent that actually came in and delivered?
I just said it's not like he's covering receivers. He's covering
he's covering his area. Whoever comes in his area.
Yeah, like he's in zone. Like what are you talking about? Like it's if he was matched up on the outside versus Justin Jefferson, then I'd be screaming, "What are you doing?" But when you're just dropping to a zone or dropping to the flat in a 5-man pressure because you're the 5th guy, you're doing what you have to do. That's the scheme. Like it's not Gannon. That's
I mean, we're talking about athletes too, right? Like he's an NFL player who's an athlete. So
Yeah.
for him to be able to drop back in a position that he's already played before, like let's not get it twisted. Like he's done this before. I think it's I think what they call, I'm trying to remember. I think it's flat to curl. That's how they call it when you kind of play. Yeah, like I don't think that it's a big ask for him. Like you said, I mean, like dark horse, maybe defensive player of the year.
I've said this. I
Right?
think
Like,
it's more than a
I'm
dark horse.
fine with it now. Weeks ago,
Yeah.
I gave a rub, but hey,
Like
right now,
looked
sure, I don't care. Yeah,
Yeah,
dark horse.
Nick
That's
Bosa
fine.
has 3 forced fumbles, none recovered. Reddick has 5 forced fumbles, 3 recovered. He's only 1.5 sacks behind. I think the tackles for loss is about this. The overall tackles for loss is about the same. Sack yardage is pretty close. Either one of them are a better candidate than Micah Parsons, just based off of stats. Now we're not talking about impact to the game, but just based off of stats. You know what I mean? So he definitely has a claim to it, because if you take him away from our defensive line, that means, and Derek Barnett still went down for the year, I don't know what you do. And everybody is feasting off of the success. And now we have to see Josh Sweat, how long he's going to be out. I mean, he won't play this week, but he should be ready for the playoffs, hopefully.
Yeah, that's what they said.
I don't know. It's just you can't. If you didn't have Jalen Hurts overcoming the offensive ineptitudes, right? You know what I mean? Even in playing Chicago where he got hurt, that wasn't a run play. He ran. That was a broken down pass play call. He ran. So obviously the other defense has a job to do to stop our offense from doing what we want to do, right?
I thought that was his Jordan Reed.
We just don't have that transcendent player on, even as many great players as we have. We don't have a player on the defensive side that can just come out and we don't have, even though Marcus Epps has played better, he's played better than above expectations. You don't have a Troy Polamalu on the back end. You don't have a Dawkins on the back end. You don't have an Ed Reed on the back end. You don't have someone who just has that instincts in the secondary level and the safety position or in the linebacker position that's just going to make up for those bad play calls or when things just make a play happen. You don't have that. You know what I mean? So I just think it's easier to blame the defense than it is the offense. I mean, because everybody in the chat can agree, all 4 of us can agree. Need to run the ball more. You need to have better balance. That's when you're the most dangerous. And you need to do it without using your quarterback all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
put it this way: if we were in the playoff game, divisional round, say we're against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if Steichen gets pass happy and refuses to run the ball with our running backs and gives maybe calls a few too many QB runs with Jalen Hurts, what do you think our chances are in that game?
Right.
Like, do you start to get worried? If I were to tell you we get pass happy, would you start to get worried?
Yeah. So and Nate, I want to ask you this because you played at the highest level out of any of us. What is it do coaches sometimes have a philosophy and against everything, they want to use their philosophy to play the game and to be successful at what they feel as if is best without actually thinking what would work? Can coaches get into that block-headed mindset to say, listen, this is, like you said, happy with the pass game. We seen that. We saw that in the Saints. They wanted to pass, knowing that some maybe not the effectiveness of the run, but more run attempts to help get positive yards on first and second down. Have you seen that firsthand where you like, all right, coach, this may not be working, but they just stick their foot in the sand and they just keep grinding?
Well, I think what coaches at a high level, what they run into is that they stick to the game plan, right? Because that's what they drilled all week. And that's what the players know. Now, sometimes you can switch the game plan and kind of switch it up as you see the game go. But most likely, you're going to stick to the game plan almost 90 to 95% of the time. So the coaches count on the coach, how stubborn he is. He's going to stick on the game plan. And they're going to go by what they say. Like I said, it's a numbers game. So if you have an 8 or 9 man box, you're going to pass the ball, right? I mean, it's just numbers, right? And then vice versa. If you have just a 5-man front and you got a man on man, and I need my running back to make a linebacker miss to get a gain, then you're going to run the ball. Or I do an RPO and you can't account for the running back or the quarterback out of that. It's all about numbers. It's all about, how you can get an advantage. So I think these coaches, what you see is innovation, but you also see sticking to what their game plan, sticking to what their numbers. They put a lot of time and a lot of effort in what they do into these game plans. So when they see a specific formation from a defensive side or even an offensive side, they have so many scenarios about what happens in those specific moments, and they stick to that. And that's why you see, you're looking at the game and you're just like, yo, why are you running? Why aren't you running the ball? We see that pass isn't working. Why aren't you switching? Well, the game plan was coming into the game was really to to pass the ball. Or why does Jalen have 15 or 16 carries? Just like Sirianni said, well, on those 15 carries, 12 of them was RPOs, and Jalen decided to keep them. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So you have to stick to the game plan that you have. You have to trust in your coaches. You have to trust in your philosophy. And you have to trust in your players of what you taught them all week, because they are, at the end of the day, somewhat like machines where they recognize patterns and they recognize formations of what they see because they practice it all week. And once you start getting off script, that kind of opens up for mistakes, just like the infamous 3rd and 30. Why? Because Scott didn't practice that. I guarantee you he wasn't in. I guarantee you he did not practice that, and that's why he was out of position, and that's why it looked like Slay got burnt. But in that coverage, never should have happened.
Yep.
Never should have happened, because Scott should have been there, and there was a
Mhm.
reason for that. It all comes back to repetition and practice, really. And sometimes you just lose. Sometimes you make a chess move and you lose.
Yeah.
That's all. You know what I mean? You just run into people who are smarter than you.
Yeah.
And that, on that given day, and that happens every time.
Yep.
Just look at John Madden. You get hot. You get hot for a while online, and next thing you know, you losing left and right. It just happens.
I think that, like, going into that game, they thought they could sling it, and I don't think they thought that Marcus Lattimore was going to play. So I think Lattimore playing made a big difference, and I don't think the coaches were planning for that, because I think with Lattimore in there, I don't see how you go into that saying, okay, we're going to pass the ball over the field, even with Lattimore. Like, Lattimore takes away some of that, takes away a lot of that, that field. He takes it away. So I just think they had bad preparation. And like you said, they didn't get out of the game plan, but I don't think they planned for or expected Lattimore to play. I think that was a huge difference maker going into that game. So anything else in regards to either the Saints game or if you get offense or defense, let's get into otherwise we can get into preview for the Eagles Giants with some predictions.
Nope.
Good?
Game's over. Move on to next week.
Move on. Let's move on. Yep. But before we do, our sponsor, Specialized Physical Therapy LLC, catch them in Burlington and Cherry Hill, making yours, Dr. Paul Vidal. That's again, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. All right, gentlemen. So Eagles Giants. I mean, there's not much to say in terms of you just got to go out and win. I think that's pretty obvious. I think that's not saying anything outlandish. Do you think what question do I want to start this off with? What do you think the Giants will do, first of all? Do you think the Giants are going to play their starters? And if so, do you think they're going to play them for only a certain amount of time?
Yes.
I think it's possible they might pay them for a series just to go through their normal routine. NFL, people are superstitious for the most part. So they go through their routine knowing that they're going to pull their starters. It wouldn't surprise me if this game is kind of tight in the first half, and then the Eagles might pull away in the second half. So I think they go through their routine. They might play a series or two, very similar to like a preseason game. not doing anything special, running on the first 2 downs, throwing a pass on the third down. I think the Giants, I mean, he came out and said they weren't rushing their starters, right? And then he retracted that statement and said we're going to do what's best for yeah, we're going to do best for New York. So somebody from up top, like, yo, bro, you need to rethink of this. So I think that's what happened, and I think that I think that they won't play their starters because they can't improve or anything. Do they want to give us the first round bye? Probably not, as a football player and a competitor. But you don't want to jeopardize getting your guys' health, and you want your guys to be ready for the first round of the playoffs. So I don't see their starters really playing much at all. But I do think they're suited. I do think they get a couple plays in, couple series in, if not just the first series in this call today, and see if they can play. If they can play spoilers, they can. If not, because you never know. You could see the Eagles down the line there. So you don't want to tip your hat. You don't want to do everything.
That is true.
You want to make sure, but you also, like, the Giants' biggest goal is to get out of that game as healthy as they can. But then you could you got Def too, right? Def could get hurt. You could have a really big backup that gets hurt as well. You know what I mean? So, and that's on both sides. But the Eagles need this game bad. Like, it's a must-win game for the Birds for sure.
Yeah. If they lose this game, lose that number 1 seed, I think we talked about it before. What is it? Arguably the biggest choke job by a Philly sports team.
I would think it is, in my opinion.
Yeah. What about you, PY? What do you think? Do you think Giants sit starters, play starters?
I mean, they're already talking about how they're going to sit some guys. I understand it's a rivalry game. Some people care about the Giants and Eagles, some people don't. It's the final game, and was it Dable's like, oh no, I'm playing my guys. I'm like, he clearly did not run that by anyone. Like, I think they're clearly going to bench some guys, or at worst, they'll probably play like a series or two, and that's it.
Oh, sorry. I forgot to put off mute.
I was like, where did Chucks go?
Yeah, I was sorry. I was like, I forgot to put off mute.
I was confused.
I was going to say awkward pause.
Yeah, I think Dayball got too ahead of himself. I think it's obviously in their best interest to, if they're gonna play starters, like, play them for a quarter, play them for a half. And I'm not just saying it as an Eagles fan. Like, if I were a Giants fan, can you imagine getting? I mean, your playoff chances in the playoffs are already pretty slim, but you want to put up your best game, you got to rest your starters. You got to make sure they're healthy. So play them for like a quarter. Go ahead. But then you want to rest them, and it's not like you're helping a rival get the number 1 seed, because even if you win, you're helping another rival get the number 1 seed. Like, it's either way, you have a division rival getting the top seed. So that reasoning just goes out the window. Priority is health for their starters, for their guys. I think Hurts plays. Does everyone agree?
Yes.
He has to play, in my opinion.
He has to play, right?
You can't go back to, you can't have Minshew play. He's 0 for 2, and his game has progressively gotten worse. I mean, he was okay in the Dallas game somewhat, but Dallas has a shitty secondary. So, but I think that that's tough to go back to Minshew, because then you're actually really playing a tight game.
Yep.
And that's not where you want to be. Hurts has to play.
Yeah.
Has to play. You need him to win.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why he's an MVP candidate. There's a reason why the Eagles were 13-1 with him. You need him to win. When they have him in at the helm, they win football games. I don't even know what his record is, but I know it's pretty good. So, and he hasn't been in the league too long. So, yeah, He's got to play. I think the injury is worse than what people think. I know they want to give him time, but I just got this feeling that the injury is a little bit worse than what people think. Maybe he has something, maybe a little torn in there, and they're just giving it as much time as they can. I'm not 100% sure, but my thought is he should have played the Saints game, but he wasn't ready. The week might have helped. Hopefully it did. But I tell you, man, if he doesn't play this game, Sirianni, you're a fucking liar. Excuse my language. You are a liar. Because that tells me he is a human being and he does not heal like he heals like everybody else. He does not have super healing powers, and I can beat him in horse. I can beat him in weightlifting, maybe something. I don't know. I can beat him in something, right?
He's human, after all.
He is human. He heals like everybody else does in the normal fashion. There's nothing fast-tracked about his healing regeneration problems. I mean,
we can rebuild him,
powers.
make him stronger, faster, better than he was.
Nah. Yeah. I know. I said last week that
the $200 million man.
That's a black man, so that's why he does that. But he should have played the Saints game because
I think
they plays the Saints games. I have a feeling that they win that game.
Yeah,
so
I think they're trying to be overly cautious, and I think they really felt that they were going to win it with Minshew, but
yeah, because now he has to play the whole game. This game,
yeah,
right? Like he's got to play the whole game. Maybe in the Saints, they're winning, even though the Saints were playing. There's just a different feel. Now we get to see in this team, can this team win when the pressure's on? We haven't seen that yet. Like they've won, like every game they played, they need to win, right? Yep. Because every game in the NFL is a must-win game. But now the pressure's really on, right? And when you press and that internal clock speeds up a little bit, he hasn't played in 2 or 3 weeks. Live football, NFL football, people are thinking that, oh, we just jump back in and we just get after it. Like, let's not get anything mistaken. Was it Thibodeau? Is that how you say his last name?
Thibodeau, yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. So for Thibodeau, he has these guys and the New York Giants playing inspired football. And that goes from the starter all the way to the backup. If you don't think these backups or some of these secondary players are not going to strap up and play and just lay down, you have another thing coming. I know Vegas says that the Eagles are favored by 14. I get it, but I'm telling you, this game, I just feel this game is going to be a little bit closer. It's an NFC East game. They're always close. They're always tight. It's been a while since I've seen a blowout in an NFC East game. And I just think that these players are going to take the temperament of their head coach, who's also a candidate for Coach of the Year for a reason. Nobody saw the Giants being here in this position. I think this team will be ready to play from top to bottom, and he's going to coach the game to win. He's going to coach the game to win. With the Herms, you play the game to win. I don't think he said it like that. You play. What did he say? I forget the saying.
Just win, baby.
You play to win.
Herman was you play to win the game.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I didn't say it with that. I didn't say it with that cadence. But hello, that's what he said. Hello, you play to win the game. And I think that Thibodeau is going to do that. He's going to coach to win the game with the players he has at his disposal. And I hope Sirianni and the boys are ready to go because they need to go in there and handle business.
I think they will be. I think they absolutely will be. PY, did you have it? I forget if you had something to say. I forget.
No, I mean, I'm not worried about the Giants. Like, obviously, you still got to play the team, but Jalen's back. You know, we're going to handle business. It's like we always do. I'm not worried. Like, you thought they were going to get it done against the Saints, but, you know, Minshew just shows that he's just not that guy.
Yeah,
he's that. If there's ever a social media quarterback, it's Gardner Minshew. It's not Justin Herbert. That guy that you look at that just looks good. He looks like the quarterback. He looks like he's a fun guy. You know, he's got a lot of swag, but that's it. Like, it's a look. He's
a fun guy to root for. Like, he's a good person.
He is. He's great.
he's a backup for a reason. Like you're gonna have these highs and lows. Like some games he's gonna look better than others. Like he played well against the Cowboys, not well enough, but he played well. But yeah, against the Saints, he didn't have it that day. That's the nature of a backup level quarterback. It's just this is what it is.
Gardner Minshew is that one backup quarterback that for whatever reason teams will convince themselves that they can win with, like as a starter for whatever reason, and teams will fall for it. Like it happens all the time. It's hilarious.
Well, I think that's out the window now. I think if he had won that game against the Saints, maybe. But I think the way he looked, I think he lost himself money. I don't think teams are gonna try to make him a star. I think teams are gonna sign him as maybe their backup or bridge quarterback. I don't think teams are gonna look at him as a starter.
Never underestimate teams' love of overrated white quarterbacks.
You think a lot? I'm not going to tell you guys to make score predictions, but a lot to a little. What do you think? Do you think it's a blowout, or do you think it's? Pete, you kind of you said it's not going to be close. You don't think you're not worried, so I'm guessing you don't think it's going to be close.
34-21.
24-21. You think? Oh, so you think it is going to be close?
I think think it's probably like close to 34-14, and then they give out like a late score to make it look a little better.
So Nate, you think the Eagles will not cover the 14?
I wouldn't bet the game, just because you just don't know what you're going to get for the Giants. Mm-hmm. Like, there's reports coming out that it just looks like the Giants are not going to play their starters. So you have to think, and then the one thing, I don't want the Eagles to be all hype. Like, that's the one thing, right? Like to get all hyped to beat the backups. I mean, you have to play the game with emotion, and but it's just like if the Eagles beat the Giants without Barkley, without Jones, without Slater or Slayton, whatever his damn name is, it's not like we dominated the Giants. So this to me means like a 24-13 game, maybe 24-10, right there and there.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. Okay. I just don't. I have to see Jalen to believe that, he's going to be all the way back. Like, Pete sounds like to me like a lot of Eagles fans. Oh, we'll get Jalen back. We'll be fine. I agree to a point, but I got to see it.
Yeah. You
I'll get worried when they show me. Then when I see Jalen Hurts struggle, then I'll be a little worried. But until that, I see that.
Let's hope.
I think it's because he took a shot to his throwing arm. You just don't bounce back from that and just start zipping the ball. Like I said, if he was ready to play at the Saints, he would have played at the Saints, and he wasn't.
Yeah. Yep.
So for me, that tells me that he's more hurt than what we think.
Was he not ready, or did they just assume that the Saints were just going to be such an easy lay that they would throw Gardner in there?
I think it could have been a mix of both.
I don't think it was an easy lay because they knew that the Saints were still playing for something.
For something, yeah.
That the Saints weren't out of playoff contention yet.
Yeah.
So they should have knew that. I mean, I think Lattimore practiced that last Friday or last Thursday. Chris Avila practiced limited, got those practice. The guys that they said they weren't practiced those last 2 days. So yeah, you have to understand that, like, hey, this all hands are on deck. This team is coming in here to try to win this game, and they did.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, for me, like this is a little bit of tricky game from a betting perspective, because they absolutely could beat them by 20 or 30 points if none of their starters play, and Jalen just comes back like he never left.
Yeah.
But for me, I just have to see it. You know what I mean? What do you think? All the reporters, all the players, they're all going to back their guy. Of course, you're going to say there's zip on the ball. He looks accurate. It looks like he never left. Of course, they're going to say that.
Yeah,
but for me, and until I see it, I ain't putting no money on it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I did a parlay. I did a money line with that game and a few other games. So it was like it ended up being like minus one something.
What was the parlay? Talk to me. Let's do it.
Money line. Because I was just like because that's what I usually do every week. So I pick games that I think are like close to locks, and I do money line. I do a parlay of all of those games, money line.
Okay.
So this one, hold on, I'm trying to bring up. I use Caesars. I like Caesars Sportsbook. It's Eagles, Seahawks, Niners, and Chiefs, all money line, and it came down to altogether minus 104. So I
You said Eagles, Chiefs, and who? The Seahawks?
Niners and Seahawks.
The Niners and the Seahawks.
Yeah.
The Seahawks is the only question mark.
That's a question. Yeah, that's close.
That's the sweat.
And the money line says that too, because they have the lowest ones at a minus 305. Everything else, like Eagles, when I put the bet in, it was minus 900. Niners were minus 1100. Chiefs are minus 455. So yeah, the Seahawks were minus 305. So yeah, that's out of those four, that's the closest one. But I do think they still beat the Rams. But I mean, we'll see.
They said the Chiefs game is the biggest rig game in the century because if the Chiefs would lose, it would throw a wrench in everything in season. So they said the Chiefs is the biggest rig game of the century where the Chiefs are absolutely going to win. That would be so great if they lost. And then they would have to figure out seeding with Buffalo and Cincinnati.
Oh my God!
They said no way it happens. They said the
Chucks,
Chiefs.
you've inspired me.
Oh, you're gonna do that too?
Yeah, I know. I just made a nice little parlay.
Yeah, like I said, the odds came out to minus 104. So I mean,
what's the parlay you got here, Pete?
Chiefs, Jacksonville,
you think
Vikings, Bills, Dolphins, Bucks, Chargers, Niners, Seahawks, Eagles, and Cowboys.
Oh my God, you're going.
You did the whole slate.
Jesus, how many legs is that?
It's only 11.
Only 11.
I'm not sure where to go with the Lions because obviously Rodgers, for whatever reason, he owns their soul.
Don't pick that game then. Don't pick that game. Like that's
what's the pay? What's the payout?
It's like 300
plus 300.
How many?
$5 bet.
$5 bet would be 300. Oh my God.
Have you guys hit any of?
Who's playing quarterback? Who's playing quarterback this week for the Ravens?
Huntley.
Okay, yeah, and then I'm
the Ravens are in the playoffs. I believe the Ravens are made the playoffs already.
I think they wrapped it up last week.
Yeah, they wrapped it up, so they're good.
They're okay. Yeah, I've hit on for as long as I've been doing. I started doing them last year. I've hit on maybe like half of them. So, yeah. Again, I don't go crazy though. Like the most legs I'll do on these are maybe like 5. I'll pick maybe 5 games at max. But
that's a pretty good clip. Parlays are very hard to hit, especially
very hard to hit. Very hard to hit. That's why I only go for ones I think are locks. And I don't do it at the beginning of the year because the beginning of the year you don't know anything. Like you don't know how good these teams are. So it's so unpredictable to say like, oh, they're a lock, but yeah, you don't know anything. So I usually start middle of the season and I do these, and I have a decent, I hit them decently. We'll see what other bets I go in, but I'll listen to you. I'll listen to you on. You going on Sunday? Or you going on Saturday because of the Saturday games? What are you doing for your show?
So on Saturday is college football and the NFL like sides. So for spreads, Sunday is like player props and DFS stuff.
Oh, okay.
But there's DFS stuff for like FanDuel. DraftKings, like just the DFS for DraftKings that me and Wilson do.
Nice.
So it's kind of split up. You get both. If you like to bet like totals and just like the sides of the games and teasers and parlays, then you'll see that Saturday. If you like just player props and DFS stuff, then that's Sunday.
Gotcha. Nice. All right, nice. All right, guys. So before we head out for tonight, biggest games this weekend. What are you watching for? I mean, obviously the Lions and Packers game to decide who gets in. That's huge. I know we got the Jaguars and Titans on Saturday night. That's another big game. Any
Colts
other
and
games that are on your
Texans.
mind? You what?
Colts and Texans.
I said Colts and Texans, man. That's a big game. That's a must-win game.
Which games are you most looking forward to? Who do you want to see win to clinch their playoff spot? What do you guys think?
I think the biggest game is the game that they flexed, right? The Packers and
Lions, yeah.
The Packers Lions game. I think it's going to be almost must-watch TV. I don't think there's only 8 teams vying for the 2 spots or 3 spots, I think, or something like that.
Yeah,
and some of the scenarios. It's kind of crazy that Detroit, even if Detroit wins, they don't automatically get in. They need Seattle to lose.
Yep. Yeah.
So they'll know beforehand, right? So that's why I said the Seattle game is a sweat, because there's a reason why the NFL made that game the night game, because it means something. So it wouldn't there's been a lot about Wagner going back to Seattle with the Rams, and Baker's been playing. Like, Baker's playing to win. He's playing for a job. So going to the 12 is always tough, though. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. So, that's why I said it's a sweat. So I think those games matter. Like the Seattle Rams game will be somewhat interesting because it will be competitive, because Seattle wants to win, obviously, to get to the playoffs, but the Rams have an emotional sense from trying to win for Wagner going back to Seattle. And then if the Rams win, I just ate some popcorn, but Packers and Detroit is going to be –
that's going to be –
it's going to be insane, right? It's going to be insane to watch that.
Yep.
So I think those are the 2 games for me.
For you? Okay. What do you people?
I have the Lions and Packers because I want them to send him home so he can do his own research and get high off tree frogs or whatever the hell it is he does these days.
So you want to see the Lions win?
Oh God, yes. There's no one who deserves to be knocked off their pedestal like Aaron Rodgers. Not to mention,
I'm assuming you want the Seahawks to lose then.
What?
No. Because the Lions can't. Like you said, they need the Seahawks to lose in order for that game to mean something.
I'm conflicted because on the one hand, I want the Lions to do well, and on the other hand, I want to win money.
Oh my God,
it's a tough life.
It's a tough life.
Also, if Dougie P takes them to the playoffs, how is he not Coach of the Year?
He's got to be considered. Absolutely.
Just think about that. Like, you took the number one worst team in the NFL, the worst run organization in the NFL, to a playoff team.
Yeah. Everyone
and their mother started writing off Trevor Lawrence. Now he looks like that guy. He looks like Clemson Trevor Lawrence.
He looks good. You have to consider him. He has to be in there. And I was going to say that, I think for me, the 2 games are, the 3 games. I really want to see the Seahawks Rams game. Obviously, the Packers Lions game. But I'm really intrigued by the Jaguars and Titans game. I want to see the Jaguars in the playoffs. I don't want to see the Titans in the playoffs. I think that team, Brian Tannehill, I don't want them in the playoffs. They're not a good block.
Nate, you hear that, right?
What?
Oh, it was a weird echo.
Oh yeah, there is an echo.
I do not.
Echo.
A little bit.
All right. Well, on that note, since there's an echo going on. Yeah, why?
Sunday. This
All right.
last one.
On that note, let's head up then to the interview, so I don't have to deal with the echo anymore. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm sorry for the echo. Hope it doesn't bother me too much. But let's hope Eagles pull off this
Go
win.
Birds.
There you go. No more. Let's hope the Eagles get this win and clinch that number 1 seed, or else we are absolutely going to be miserable next week and probably for the next few months. So got to get this win. Thank you for tuning in to Birds of a Feather. Thank you for tuning in to all the shows here at the station. And also to our sponsor, Baggio's Bread. Make sure you hit them up and tell them A2D sent you for that 10% off. For myself, Mr. Nate Money, Mr. Pete Young, for Pete Evans, who had to leave early, and for Jake, who is out with his girlfriend for her birthday. Happy birthday to Jake's girlfriend. And to, again, the Hamlin family, Demar Hamlin, sending prayers nonstop. We hope you make a quick and a quick recovery. We're all with you. Thoughts and prayers out to Demar Hamlin. For myself, Chucks, all of us here, A2D and Birds of a Feather, we appreciate you. God bless. Good night. Peace out. Go Birds.
Go Birds.